So today I want to talk a little bit about strength and sobriety. There's a blessing in knowing that you have a problem with alcohol. There's a blessing in acknowledging anything that we have issues with. Alcohol could be whatever. If we don't acknowledge it and give it weight, uh, then we're never really going to get out of the issue and the jam that we're in. So just acknowledging that there's a problem is a blessing. And but the true growth comes in the doing and actually doing the work that it takes to get over what it is that's holding us up. And in particular, because this channel has to do with being alcohol free. And by the way, if you're new here, welcome. My name's Josh, living life alcohol free. And if you're returning, welcome back. I'm so glad that you're here. I made a video last night. It's coming out on Sunday. Got a lot going on the next 2 days, but I'll have it out on Sunday. And it talks about just that, a blessing in knowing and true growth and strength in actually doing the work that it takes. So I'll start from where I was when I was drinking. I started really questioning my drinking in my 20s and my 30s again, but then in my late 30s, I really started questioning it. If you're back and you've watched some of my videos, you know that I really started questioning my drinking when I was like 38 years old. I was starting to feel the effects of of the hangovers, and it wasn't going in the right direction. And so when I started to work on fixing that, um, I started therapy. I started going to therapy every couple weeks. I did start taking medication at that time. I had refused to try medication, but um, welcome, Triple. And good morning. So yeah, so I didn't start medication until I was like 39 years old, and up until that point, I was trying to do new things to feel better, all while drinking. And you know the routine. You do the meditating. Uh, Maybe prayer is something that you lean on when you're trying to get over your depression or your anxiety. Uh, Maybe hiking, maybe whatever it is that you do to get through those things. But then you drink again, and then you're right back to where you were before, and it doesn't get really any better. And you're wondering, you do these things for weeks and weeks or whatever, but then you continue going back to alcohol, and then I mean, you kind of wonder why it's not working, but at the same time, you know that the alcohol is making it worse, and it's making it making you go back to square one. So you do all these things, and you feel like you're just running on a hamster wheel, and you're getting nowhere. But in reality, it's acknowledging the fact that it's alcohol or it is whatever it is that's holding us back, that we're hooked on, that is keeping us back, going back down. So no matter how many good things we do, when we use alcohol to cope, and we go right back to where we were before, there's not really any growth in that. And it really took me acknowledging it, and it was a blessing to know. It was really a blessing to actually know it and give it acknowledgement, because then we can actually do something about it. Before that, if we choose to ignore what it is that our problem is, there's really no way to um, to get over it. And I really liked that, actually. I mean, I liked ignoring it, and I did that. I mean, every now and then I'd acknowledge my problem with alcohol, but then I'd go right back to it in a few days or a week or whatever, and I'd start over again and start that cycle back over again. And and then I'd go maybe 4 or 5 months, 6 months, and I'd re-question it again. Maybe you get a bad hangover, uh, and you start to question, like, am I? Is this really my life? Is this really working? Do I really want to keep doing this? And I think just the more you do that, the more you solidify in your mind that you don't want to do it. I mean, I think it's different times for different people. I mean, I was in my drinking for 27 years. I didn't feel like I had a problem with it the whole 27 years. There were certainly times when I drank more than other times. When I'm going through a lot of stress. Stress is a huge trigger for a lot of people, and it keeps them addicted. And if we're dealing with stressful jobs, stressful home life, um, maybe we're just anxious about social settings. Maybe we're just anxious about money. Maybe we're anxious all the time, and just drinking quiets that down. Just just takes it down a notch. And I get that. Like I said, I went through periods of time. I drank all those years, but I mean, there were periods of times when I drank more, I leaned on it more, and as a result, I mean, the hangovers were worse, of course, but then there were other issues to go along with that. Like I said, I had quite a few people talking about their drinking, and I had one comment today that asked me that if I ever drank through like panic attacks, because I suffered from panic attacks from basically from the age of 24 to about 34. Probably about 10 years was the height of that. It started with one massive panic attack when I was 24, and then I dealt with it. I was kind of just, and it was always after I drank too much. It was never, if I didn't drink, I don't think that I would have had those panic attacks. I think that um, I was drinking way too much, and I was always worried that it was gonna do a lot of harm, and uh, ultimately it ended up to the point where it was like I dealt with the panic attacks. Once I got through them, I might not drink the rest of that day, but I would get to the next day, and I would, fading effect bias kicks in. You kind of want to just block that out, and then you start to drink again, and then you do it again, and it's on repeat. And my doctor at that time gave me some Ativan, and I didn't really know much about it. I'm not like, I don't know tons about it. I had refills of it for a couple years, 3 years, and I didn't take it every single day, but I did take it if I felt like panicked, and I felt panic coming on. But this one particular commenter was wanting to know if I drank like to deal with panic attacks, and I didn't drink to deal with panic attacks. I couldn't do anything when I was having a panic attack. I didn't want to drink anything. I couldn't move, So I didn't. So I'm not sure if they're sure if it's panic attacks or just high anxiety or what. But this person's taking like alcohol to work, putting it in their car, drinking it on breaks, and but that's definitely a reason to question: is alcohol really helping with the anxiety? And I mean, I can tell you that from my experience, it helps for a short time. It does. I mean, up to a day, really. But it's really the next day that's the problem. But if you start drinking again, um, maybe you quiet that anxiety down enough to the point where you're not too anxious. But then you're doing that every day. Then you're drinking every single day, and that's kind of how I started to drink in my 30s. Um, I didn't drink like as much, but Um, I would drink less and lighter stuff over longer periods of time so that I could kind of function. To be honest with you, I have a family. I have responsibilities. I had a lot going on, and I couldn't just exactly get like blackout drunk. But I still would drink every day, and it did help the stress. It did help melt things away like that. But there wasn't a blessing in continuing it on that path. It wasn't, and I really I prayed every day. I had this prayer that I would say every day that I learned when I was like 11 years old, and I always had this prayer like battling with my addiction to alcohol and other things. But I had this prayer and this addictive personality, and they were clashing daily. And the addictions always won out. It was like I would lean on both, but it was just good versus evil, and evil always won out. So eventually, I started to, I had when I was like 38 years old or so, I had uh, quite a few issues. If you follow my channel, you know what those issues are. But I uh, I had too much to think about and too much to deal with. So I felt like I wanted to be done with alcohol, but I wasn't at a point where I had any tools to do that. Um, but knowing and acknowledging that was a problem was a huge blessing. And without it, I wouldn't have been able to get sober. So fast forward a few years, 2020, I was able to quit drinking, and what a blessing it was to live. I mean, those 3 years weren't easy. They were some of the hardest days of my life. Um, but I had to go through that in order to get to the other side. And really, the drinking was the it wasn't the main issue. It wasn't the only issue. I mean, I always heard that drinking is like a symptom of a larger problem, and I it's true. And you can't really see that until you're off of alcohol for a while. That it was really the one thing that was holding you back. Like I said, I had built up um, tools. I mean, I started to do a lot of different things. I watched a lot of motivational videos. That's partly why I started this channel, is because I always leaned on like videos, particularly on YouTube, sometimes on Facebook and other platforms, but a lot of times on YouTube. And they're free, and you watch these, and you get inspiration from them. And that's just one aspect and one tool that I had in my toolbox that I was able to use to help me get over my addiction to alcohol. But I mean, I started to pray more. I started to meditate, do like body scans. I started to walk more. I started to do these things, but like I said, the alcohol undid a lot of that. But when I quit drinking and I continued on with those same daily habits, the good ones, and then I started to accumulate more of those and fit those into my regularly scheduled drinking day. um, I started to see that, man, it matters what we feed ourselves, and there's strength in not turning to alcohol and but turning to those other things. And I couldn't just do it with those other things. Yeah, I mean, we can a lot of I'm used to being like alone, and I'm used to doing stuff on my own, and it's always been that way my entire life. Um, and that's partly why I wasn't able to ever really get over my problem with alcohol in particular, but just a lot of my problems. And it was basically, good morning, Laura, welcome in. And it was basically a lot of the problems that I was facing and then drinking at was not making me stronger. So when I'm sober now finally, and I have a few weeks, and I'm building up, doing the same stuff I was doing before, but I'm adding new things on, like stretching, like better prayer, like scripture, um, hiking more, uh, actually being present. Mindfulness is a huge tool. So like being present with my whoever I'm with. Like I said, I'm used to being doing things on my own, but I couldn't get sober on my own. I needed a community. By the grace of God, I was able to find, like, in the first few days that I quit, um, and I leaned on that group 24/7. Basically, I mean, I was on it. Not on it continuously, but I mean, I would get on there every hour or so, and if I was busy, I would get back on there as soon as I was done doing what I was doing. But I posted at least once or twice a day. I would comment on other people's posts, and I would say that there was a group of us that were probably 50 people. I mean, it was not a small group of people, but they're not on there all day every day, but you had your same group of people, and it was probably a group of like 10 or 15 that were constant. And actually, some of us started a Zoom, and we would meet once a week on Saturday, and we did that for a couple years. I was It was awesome. And there was usually like 7 or 8 of us on there at a time, sometimes more, sometimes less, but for the most part, we would meet, and we would just talk about what was going on in our life. I mean, like an AA meeting, like a recovery meeting. Um, and that was cool, and that got me kind of used to and out of my shell, because I was never comfortable um, talking in front of the camera, and that was like the first introduction to me and working on that. And that's why I say, like, there's strength in recovery. um I never could have imagined that I'd feel comfortable to even talk on camera, let alone have a YouTube channel. um and man, it's just like one building block after another was happening early on in my sobriety. And I went to a church launch of a pastor that I kind of followed at another church before for a few years. I heard that he was launching his own church. He left there and opened up his own church like a year later. But I just happened to hear that from one of my daughters. I looked it up, and it said launching next Sunday. And the timing of it was just unbelievable that I was able to go to that launch. I went to that church all year. I went, not every day. I went pretty much every Sunday for like the first 3 months, and then then it was like winter and people were getting sick, and then it was kind of like people were still getting COVID a lot, and this was like 2022. So I kind of quit going in the winter time, but I started going back in the summer, and then later that year, I had built up this. It's not a small church. It's probably like, at the time, I think when it launched, there was probably around 600. Now there's over 1,000 that go there. I mean, and there's probably 500 in each of the two services on Sunday morning. So it's a good sized church, and he's pretty much the only pastor. I mean, he's the lead pastor, and they have other people filling in sometimes here and there, but for the most part, 6 or 7 out of like 8 are him. And I never had met him, but I was building up to it. I he would be waiting after the service outside the doors to kind of say hello to people. And I walked by him a couple times over those months, over that year basically. And he was always kind of talking to someone, so I kind of just kept on walking. But at the same time, building up in my mind that, man, when I finally do, what am I going to say? Like, just, how you get in your head, and it's hard to it's hard to get out of your head. Um, so anyway, I'm like, I didn't know where that was all going or whatever. And my daughter always wanted to meet him too. So she was like, go over and meet him. I'm like, no, no, I'm okay. But eventually there was one day, it was near Christmas time. And I was walking out and it was just me. And I think that's what it took. And that he was standing there alone. I walked up to him. I introduced myself and I told him that I was 3 years sober, going on 3 years sober, and that his sermons played a huge role in my growing in my faith that helped me in my recovery. And that all just kind of came out. I never really shared that with anybody for those first couple years. And when I look back on that, I have to give God all the credit, but it was stepping stones. There were things that were there that I took advantage of, that I was scared of before, that I wasn't so scared of anymore. And I can tell you that alcohol, even though it makes us feel like we are um, letting go of that anxiety and stuff, social anxiety, uh, whatever the anxiety you have might be, the alcohol and the drinking are making it 10 times, 100 times worse in the long run. So there was really no growing anymore in my drinking days, and I wasn't enjoying even drinking anymore. It became too exhausting, and I recognized that if I wanted to live the life that I wanted to live, that I was going to have to try something new, and that was giving up alcohol. As scary as that seemed at the time, that's what I was going to have to do. So that's what I did, and just building block after building block, tools in your toolbox, one day after another, seizing opportunities instead of letting them pass you by. Somebody commented, and they caught it in one of my videos last week and said, um, "You you wanted alcohol, you didn't want life." And man, that's why I love making content and stuff like that, because a lot of times the stuff, and I don't necessarily give it as I used to, but that's really what it was. I was giving alcohol everything. I didn't want to live. I didn't want whatever life had to offer. I didn't really want it. I didn't feel like I was blessed. I felt cursed, in fact. So so that's what it was, and I wanted alcohol. I didn't want life. And eventually that changed. I'm grateful, and I'm grateful to God every day that I was able to get out of it and still have my health. I mean, I'm 47 now, and things are coming up this year that, man, things that have probably been there for a long time that I kind of neglected, some stuff out of my control, health wise, I'm talking. But I know that it's not drinking related. I know that it's not alcohol that was causing this. And man, it's a relief just to know that you're not sabotaging yourself every single day. you know that um, you're giving it your best, and that's all you can do. And there's true growth in recovering from your addiction. So that's all I got for you today. Thanks so much for being here. Please check out my video on Sunday. It's gonna be about this subject, basically blessing and knowing, but strength and doing. And hey, local, 40 days. Congrats. That's awesome. I bet you're feeling good. It it does feel good to be done. 40 days, man. That I started feeling good after like 10 days of not drinking. 40 days, yeah, I was feeling like, man, I want to make it to 60, and made it to 60, and then it's like, no, I want to make it to 90, and then it just builds from there. You just and then you just keep feeling good. Yeah, one at a time. I mean, I still don't eat great. Uh, it's hard, but it is what it is. I mean, yeah, just do what you can. They have salads. Get a salad. But no, I definitely wouldn't be getting a salad. But yeah, I do these live streams on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and at 10 o'clock, and then I try to stay consistent on that because it's consistency that really helps us. It's staying on this regular schedule, the schedule that we would normally be drinking or eating junk food or whatever it is our vice is. Replacing those things and staying consistent. So I try to be consistent on that Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Awesome, awesome. Thanks for subscribing. And then I've got a sober group as well on Facebook. It's a private group, so it's really just for anybody, but in particular for people that want to share more in depth stuff about what they're going through. And I don't particularly share every single thing um, that I'm going through down to details on YouTube. Sometimes I do, but I'll share. I think I share a little bit more in depth on Facebook on my group, just because it's more of a private thing, and I think that a lot of people want that. So it's growing. It's growing faster now that one of my videos took off last month. Started going way up, and so there's quite a few more people in there than there were, but it's still small enough to where we can. I mean, it's like a small group. It's good. And then I got that link posted on all my videos in the comment section for the group and for my videos, and we'll go from there. Enjoy those biscuits and the gravy. Sounds good. Um, have a good day at work, Laura. And I got to get moving, but yeah, you can share. You can take a pic and share it. But yeah. So that's that. Have a great sober day. It's Friday. Have a great sober weekend. If you're struggling, reach out. Don't be afraid to talk about it. It's not fun to talk about, especially if we're new to this, if we're just getting sober. Um, Even, I mean, it took me like 3 years to even open up to people about it. So it takes time, um, and like I said, it just takes a little work, a little bit at a time, chipping away at it day by day, uh, and we'll get to where we want to go. So have a great weekend, everybody, and we'll see you on Sunday with the video, and then Monday again with the live stream. So we'll see you then. Take care.